We're going to be presenting the poem The Midnight Ride of Paul Revere by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow.
Listen, my children, and you shall hear the midnight ride of Paul Revere. On the 18th of April in 75, hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year. He said to his friend, if the British march by land or sea from the town tonight, hang a lantern aloft in the belfry arch of the North Church Tower as a signal light, one by land and two by sea, and I on the other shore will be, ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm, for the country folk will be up to the arm.
Then he said goodnight, and with muffled roar, silently rowed to a Charleston shore. Just as the moon rose over the bar, swinging white at her moon rings lay, the Somerset, British man of war, phantom ship with each mast and spar, crossed the moon like a prison bar, huge black hulk that was magnified by its own reflection in the tide. Meanwhile, his friend through alley and street wanders and watches with eager ears, till in the silence around him he hears the musters of men at the barrack door, and the measured thread of the girding years marching down to their boats on the shore.
And then he climbed to the tower of the old North Church by the wooden stairs with stealthy tread to the belfry chamber overhead, and stalled the pigeons from their perch on the sombre rafters that round him made masses in moving shapes of shade, by the trembling ladders steep and tall to the highest window in the wall, where he paused to listen and look down a moment on the roofs of the town and the moonlight flowing over all. Beneath the churchyard lay the dead in their night encampment on the hill, wrapped in silence so deep and still that he could hear like a sentinel's tread the watchful night wind as it went, creeping along from tent to tent, seeming to whisper all is well. A moment only he feels the spell of the place and the hour and the secret dread of the lonely belfry and the dead. For suddenly all his thoughts are bent on a shadowy something far away, where the river widens to meet the bay, a line of black that bends on floats on the rising tide like a bridge of boats.
Meanwhile, in painting to mountain wide, brooded and spurred with a heavy stride. On the opposite shore walked Paul Revere. Now he patted his horse aside. Now gazed at landscape far and near.
Then impetuous.
Snapped the earth.
Then Revere snapped the earth, turned and tightened his saddle girth. But mostly he watched with eager search the belfry tower of the old North Church. As it rose above the graves on the hill, lonely and spectral and somber and still. And lo, as he looks on the belfry's height, a glimmer and then a gleam of light. Now
He springs. He springs.
He springs to the saddle.
I can't really hear you
The
guys.
bridle he turns,
He springs to the saddle, the bridle he turns.
but lingers and gazes till full on the sight a second lamp in the belfry burns. Go, Lisa.
He hurried hooves in a village street, a shape in the mad.
A boat in the dark,
A book in the dark,
and beneath
and beneath the pebbles, and passing a spar,
Struck out by his steed,
struck out by the steed,
flying fearless and fleet.
flying fearless and fleet.
That was all.
That was all. And though the
And yet through the gloom,
and yet through the gloom and the night and the light, the fate of the nation was riding that night.
and sparks struck
And the spark struck
out by that steed.
out by that steed
in his light,
in his flight,
kindled the lamp,
kindled the lamp into
flame with its heat.
Flame with its heat. Next.
He has left the village much of the steep of an eastern tranquil and broad and deep. In the mystic mean the ocean tides, and the elders that skirt its edge. Now soft and stand along the ledge is heard the tramp of his steed as he rides. It was told by the village clock when he crossed the bridge into Medford town. He heard the crowing of the cock and the barking of the farmer's dog, and from the depth of the river fog that rises as the sun goes down. It was flying by the village clock when he galloped into Lexington. He saw the gilded weather clock swim in the moonlight as he passed, and the meeting house windows, blank and bare, gazed at him with a spectral glare, as if they already stood aghast at the bloody work they would look upon. It was 2 by the village clock when he came to the bridge in Concord town. He heard the bleating of the flock and the twitter of birds among the tree, and felt the breath of the morning breeze blowing over the meadows brown, and one was safe and asleep in his bed, who at the bridge would be first to fall, who that day would be lying dead, pierced by a British musket ball.
You know the rest in the books you have read how the British regulars fired and fled, how the farmers gave them ball for ball from behind each fence and farmyard wall, chasing the redcoats down the lane, then crossing the fields to emerge again under the trees at the turn of the road, only pausing to fire and load. So through the night rode Paul Revere, and so through the night went the cry of alarm to every Middlesex village and farm. A cry of defiance and not of fear, a voice in the darkness, a knock at the door,
And a word that shall echo.
and a word that shall echo forevermore. For born on the wind of the night winds past, through all our history to the last, in the hour of darkness and peril and need, the people will awaken to listen and hear the hurrying hoofbeats of that steed and the midnight message of Paul Revere.